I've combined 3 copies of the Crimson King structure deck into one amazing Red Dragon Archfiend deck. Let's have a look at that right now. So to start off, this deck is based on swarming the field with your Red Dragon Archfiend Synchro monsters, and we're going to do that using the Resonator engine, obviously. For our level 6 monster, we have 1 copy of Red Warg. This card can be special summoned when you normal summon a Resonator monster, so if you use this in combination with any of your level 2s, it immediately becomes a level 8 Synchro monster, or if you use it with your level 3s, you can go into your level 9 Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. Next for our level 5s, we have 2 copy of Ascator Dawnwalker. This card, while I don't like that it's in Jack's deck, is a absolutely fantastic card. This card can be special summoned by discarding 1 card from your hand, and then you can immediately special summon a Fire Ant Ascator from your deck. That alone makes this card an immediate Red Dragon Archfiend by itself, giving you a level 5 and a level 3 tuner on the field with absolutely no cost of your normal summon. You just discard a card, it's fantastic. Next for our level 5s, we have 1 copy of Vice Dragon. Vice Dragon is a great level 5 extender, being able to be special summoned if only your opponent controls monsters. If you use this in combination with your level 3 tuners, you immediately have a level 8 Synchro. Next for our level 4s, of course, we need 3 copies of Bone Archfiend. Bone Archfiend is the best level 4 that comes in this deck. Not only can it be special summoned from your hand or graveyard, but it can also increase or decrease its level by 1, making it a great card for easily summoning either your Red Rising Dragon or any of your level 8 Red Dragon Archfiends. Bone Archfiend is an absolute must-have at 3 and is the main card that we're going to be adding with the effect of our Soul Resonator. Next for our level 4s, we have 2 copies of Red Sprinter. Red Sprinter is a great card, being able to summon itself as well as a level 3 or lower Fiend Tuner from your hand or graveyard. That ability to bring it back from the graveyard is another reason why Red Sprinter is fantastic, and you gotta have it at 2. And on top of that, we also have 2 copies of Wandering King Wild Wind. Wandering King Wild Wind is very similar to Red Sprinter. It is a level 4 that can special summon itself if you control a Fiend Tuner with 1500 or less attack, that being any of our Resonators. On top of that, during your main phase, except the turn it's sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard to add a Fiend Tuner with 1500 or less attack from your deck to your hand. So this card not only allows you to special summon itself when you have a tuner monster on the field, being an immediate level 6 Synchro monster if you have one of your level 2s, but also you can banish it to grab another Resonator on your next turn, continuing your combos. Next we have 1 copy of Fire Ant Ascator. We only have 1 copy of this card as we don't actually want to see this card in our hand. On its own, not great, but like I talked about before, Ascator Dawnwalker is a fantastic card that can special summon it. Finally, we have our Resonator engine. We have 3 copies of Soul Resonator. This is the best Resonator and is the one that you absolutely want to be going for 100% of the time. Well, not 100%. It's the one you want to start with. This is our main starter of the deck. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add 1 level 4 or lower Fiend monster from your deck to your hand. And again, normally with this card, we're going to go into our Bone Archfiend. That makes Soul Resonator a 1 card Red Rising Dragon or 1 card Red Dragon Archfiend. It can go into any level 8 or level 6 Synchro monster with the Bone Archfiend combo. Next we have 3 copies of Crimson Resonator. This card is amazing, oh my goodness. If you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand, which is already a great effect, allowing us to get out a tuner and a non-tuner very easily. Its second effect is where it really kicks off. If the only other monster you control is exactly 1 Dark Dragon Synchro monster, don't forget about that, then you can special summon up to 2 Resonator monsters from your hand or deck, except for Crimson Resonator. So the main strategy of this is to use Soul Resonator to go into your Bone Archfiend, use Bone Archfiend's effect to send Crimson Resonator to the graveyard, reducing its level by 1, then you tune your Bone Archfiend with your Soul Resonator to go into your Red Rising Dragon. Once Red Rising Dragon is summoned to the field, it can special summon a Resonator from your graveyard, that being the Crimson Resonator that you just sent. Now you have one Dark Dragon Synchro monster and your Crimson Resonator. You can use Crimson Resonator's effect to then special summon your Vision Resonator and your Synchron Resonator. We have 2 copies of both Vision and Synchron Resonator, them being the next best Resonators in the deck. So Vision Resonator is a great card, especially with the Crimson Resonator combo. After doing that, you can use your Vision Resonator to tune your Red Rising Dragon into a level 8 Synchro monster, and when Vision Resonator is sent to the graveyard, you can add one spell or trap that mentions Red Dragon Archfiend from your deck to your hand. This is a great effect, allowing us to search in basically any of our spell or trap cards. The main one we're going to be going for is, of course, Crimson Gaia. Lastly, Synchron Resonator, we have 2 copies of. If a Synchro monster is on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. This makes Synchron Resonator a great card to extend your plays, and really you only want to use it if you have a Synchro monster on the field anyway. This is because Synchron Resonator is a level 1 monster, but you can use it with your level 8 Synchros to go into the level 9 Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, or you can use it with Abyss to go into Red Dragon Archfiend Bane. Okay, that is all for the monsters, but before we get into the spells and traps, I would like to quickly give a shout out to my merch. We have Pulse of the King merchandise on the Senkara shop at senkara.myspreadshop.com. Check out these epic designs that I made myself. I designed them myself for you guys, based around, of course, Jack Atlas. We have a epic poster with Jack Atlas, Pulse of the King. We have a design featuring the same design on Jack's necklace, as well as one of his trademark A featured on his earrings and his belt. These designs I think are really cool, and I'm very happy with how they turned out, so if you could check them out, that would be great. You can get any of these designs on any of my products. Simply go to the customize tool, place it on any product you want, however you want, wherever you want, at any size you want. These designs are great for shirts, posters, cups. We've got them on hats, bags, badges, anything that you want. We've pretty much got it. So be sure to check that out if you like Jack Atlas or Red Dragon Archfiend, and thank you. I don't know how to end that section, but thanks if you do. Anyway, back to the spells. So we have 3 copies of Resonator Call. Obviously, you gotta have this at 3. This is basically our rota. You can add 1 Resonator monster from your deck to your hand. The main one we're gonna be going for is, of course, Soul Resonator, but that's our opening card. If you already have Soul Resonator or you already have Synchros on the field, you may want to go for something else like Synchron Resonator or even Crimson Resonator. Next, we have 1 copy of Resonator Engine. Resonator Engine is not quite as good, seeing as it needs 2 Resonators in your graveyard. However, this does allow us to recycle our Resonators, being able to go into more tuner monsters, more synchro plays, and it gets a level 4 from the deck to your hand, which is really its best effect. Next, we have 1 copy of Absolute Power Force. A lot of people don't play this card, but I really like it. Not only is this Red Dragon Archfiend's attack name, which is just like awesome, it's got awesome art and is very fitting for Jack Atlas, but I think it's a really good OTK card and can deal a heck of a lot of damage. Its effect not only gives a Red Dragon Archfiend you control 1000 attack, but it also prevents your opponent from activating card effects while this monster battles. If it attacks a defense position monster, it does piercing battle damage, and any damage your opponent takes from that battle is doubled. Absolute Power Force is a very good card for finishing off your opponent. However, we don't want to see it in any other situation, which is why we only have 1 copy of it. If you're going to go for it, I would suggest adding it with the effect of Crimson Gaia, and then going for the OTK if it's available for you. Next up, we have 1 copy of Burning Soul. Again, not the best card in the deck, and we only want 1 of it, but I think that it is a really fairly decent card. Not only can this card add a card from your graveyard to your hand, but you can also then immediately synchro summon using monsters you control as material. Now, why is this good if we can synchro summon anyway? Well, the downside of this card is that you need a level 8 or higher synchro on the field, which isn't hard for us, but the upside is that it is a quick play spell, so not only can you use this on your opponent's turn to interrupt their plays, you can also use it during your battle phase to deal extra damage and potentially go for an OTK. Next, we have 2 copies of Resonator Command. This card's effect is actually really good. You can discard 1 Resonator monster to add 1 level 4 or lower Fiend monster from your deck to your hand. This gets any of our level 4 or lower monsters, as they're all Fiends except for Fire and Eschator, but it can also be used to grab any of our Resonator monsters, which is great. You can swap out 1 Resonator for your Soul Resonator, or you can swap it out for any of your level 4s if you need it. Since this card can add resonators to your hand, that is why we definitely run it at least 2, but we also have 3 resonator calls as well as 3 of the main resonators that we want, so we probably don't need too many of it. Finally, for our spells, we have 3 copies of Crimson Gaia. This effect is fantastic. Its main effect is that during your main phase, you can add a Red Dragon Archfiend or one card that mentions it from your deck or graveyard to your hand. Obviously, if you get one of your synchro monsters from your graveyard to your hand, it'll just go back into your extra deck, which is fun, but it can also be used to add any of the cards that mention it from your deck to your hand. That would include your Soul Resonator being another search for that, but it also includes Fiendish Golem, Red Rain, or Red Zone. It also includes Absolute Power Force as well, which is fantastic, and it includes Vision Resonator. This card can add pretty much any card that you want from your deck to your hand, which is amazing. Its second effect, however, is also really good and great for the OTK. When your Red Dragon Archfiend declares an attack, note that that includes your Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend and your Scar Red Dragon Archfiend, as their names are treated as Red Dragon Archfiend while on the field, but this effect is mainly for the original. When your Red Dragon Archfiend declares an attack, you can change all monsters your opponent controls to face down defense position. Why is this good? Well, first of all, if we combine it with Absolute Power Force, that's piercing battle damage. Secondly, if we combine it with the original Red Dragon Archfiend, its effect is that if it attacks a defense position monster, you destroy all defense position monsters your opponent controls. So this becomes an immediate board wipe with Red Dragon Archfiend and clears the way for an OTK. And finally, the best part about its effect is that it puts their monsters in face down defense position. This means that any troublesome effects that your opponent has are negated because monster effects can't activate when they are set face down. That is why you absolutely need 3 Crimson Gaias, along with the effect that it searches for any card you want and then it negates your opponent's monsters. This is great. Its final effect is that if a monster on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, including if you destroy your opponent's monsters, you can special summon 1 Red Dragon Archfiend from your graveyard. This effect, again, is really great for just extending your battle phase and extending your plays and going for the OTK. Really powerful card right here. Next, for our traps, we have 2 copies of Fiendish Golem. This card is really good for getting rid of any troublesome monsters, and it also sets a Fiendish Chain from our deck, thinning out our deck. Next, we have 1 copy of Red Rain. This card is insane. If you control a level 8 or higher synchro monster, you can banish all monsters on the field except the monsters with the highest level. So if you're going to use this, make sure you have the highest level monster and you just clear your opponent's entire field. Next, we have 1 copy of Time to Stand Up. This is basically a weaker version of Crimson Resonator, seeing as it's a trap, but it is definitely a good card to have. Next, we have 1 copy of Fiendish Chain. This is mainly to search for with Fiendish Golem, but is also a good card for negating card effects. And finally, for our traps, we have 2 copies of Red Zone. This card is insane. When your opponent activates a card or effect while you control Red Dragon Archfiend, which includes any of your level 8 synchro monsters, you can then target, while you control Red Dragon Archfiend, or a monster that mentions it, which would include our Red Nova Dragon, and then you can target 1 card on the field and destroy it. That effect alone is really good for disrupting your opponent. Its second effect is that once per turn, you can target 1 of your banished Dark Dragon synchro monsters and special summon it. This effect works really well with some of our synchro monsters that banish themselves or other Red Dragon Archfiends that you have. Alright, for our extra deck, very simple, we're combining 3 of the decks. So we have 3 Red Rising Dragons. This is the main synchro that we're going to go into and allows us to extend into higher synchro monsters. We have 2 copies of Scar Red Dragon Archfiend. This card is kind of ridiculous because if it's sent to the graveyard, you can special summon the original Red Dragon Archfiend from your extra deck. So that's why we have 2 of them. This is one of the main level 8s we're going to go into. You summon this card and then tune it with another monster to then go into your Red Dragon Archfiend, or you can use it with Red Dragon Archfiend Bane to tribute it, and then again its effect triggers. Next, we have 2 copies of Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend. Again, we're more likely to go into level 8s, and this is a great addition to the deck. 3 copies of the original Red Dragon Archfiend. Its effect works really well with Crimson Gaia, and it's the original, and it can also be summoned with Scar Red Dragon Archfiend. That makes it a very versatile card that we could definitely get out 3 of. Next, we have our higher level synchro monsters that we're probably only going to summon one of. We have Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane, Red Nova Dragon, Red Supernova Dragon, and Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity. Of course, that includes all of the synchro monsters that are included in this deck, just with some extras of the ones that we're more likely to summon. So that is all for this deck. That is 3 copies of the Crimson King structure deck. If you like this deck, be sure to let me know down in the comments, and thank you very much for watching. Let me know any changes that you would make to this deck, or if you use this deck, be sure to let me know how it goes in the comments section. Leave a like, subscribe for more, because next week we will be going into the combos for this deck. The combos for the structure deck, and that will teach you as well how to play this deck. If you want further information on how this deck works, be sure to check out my How to Play the Crimson King structure deck video that I posted just a couple days ago. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. My name is Senkara, and until next time, see ya.